at WrestleMania 30, we were supposed to get Triple H versus CM Punk, which would have been huge. But Punk, obviously, by that point was like, I don't need to have a match with this guy. He was done. Do you think if Triple H and Punk had happened, like, where would Punk's career have went then? Would it have been any different, or do you think that he still would have 6 months later at some point just went, oh, I'm done with this?
I mean, it definitely would have been different, because he'd have wrestled more than he did. I think if he'd have been convinced to stay to do that match, he would have been convinced to stay longer and just stay there for the foreseeable. It's such a hard one, because everything about that whole situation would have had to change, wouldn't it? Like his issues with the doctors, his issues with creative, his issues with, Triple H personally, his issues with Vince personally, everything. Like, I don't think he ever would have been happy. I mean, the guy had the record title reign of the decade or of the century, and he still wasn't happy. Like, I don't know what would make him happy.
Main event WrestleMania.
Well, that was his chance. If he was ever going to be main event, it's going to be with Triple H. I mean, it probably would have been Batista and Orton, but there's a good... If you're ever going to be in the main event and want to fight for it, Triple H is probably the right opponent to be on with, isn't it? So, and I think Triple H probably would have beat him first, because Triple H always does that.
At WrestleMania 30?
I think so. And then I think Punk would have beat him down the line. It's the same as like when Triple H worked with Brock, and he beat Brock first.
But Brian beat him at WrestleMania?
Aye, but Brian had to beat him because he had to beat him to get the main event. So it's different. And by that point, the whole dynamic of everything had changed.
Do you think, though, if they say they announced Triple H and Punk, and he found out, he would have just walked? He would have probably been like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to.
Well, he had the discussion, didn't he? Like, because he was backstage, in the office with Vince and Triple H. According to Punk anyway, and they give him this big plan that he was going to be working Triple H at WrestleMania, and he was like, I'm not interested. Oh, but it's a main event, big match with Triple H, and but what does it do for me? It does more for you than it does for me, sort of thing. It's like, when he's got that attitude and he's that jaded, it wouldn't have mattered. They could have put him on, they could have had them on last, they could have had Punk win, they could have done all, they could have had him win the belt again, have it for 5 years, he still would have. When you've mentally checked out, you've checked out, I think.